Hello. Okay, today we are making some very cute knitted flowers. To make these, you will need 2 different colours of wool, some scissors, a darning needle, and now don't freak out. If you're normally here for loom knitting videos, just hang it, just stay with us, all right? Knitting needles. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've heard this from a lot of people. I can't knit on needles. Never knitted on needles. That's why we come for the loom knitting tutorials. It's fine, okay? We're going to do this together. We're going to do it step by step. And in the process of making these very cute little flowers, what we're also going to have learned to do is, if you haven't knitted before, we're going to have covered casting on, plain knitting and casting off. So we're covering the bare basics of knitting as well. These are quite chunky needles. These are a size 10 because I like working with quite chunky equipment. Insert your own joke there. Demonetized. Yeah, so you can use whatever size you personally want to. As for the wool, this is DK. You can use DK, chunky, 4-ply. It should all work on this pattern. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take the colour we want our petals to be, the outside of the flower. We're going to leave a decent length on it because we're going to use that for making up later. There's not much making up in this, but there is a little. So leave a decent tail on it and tie a slip knot. We are then going to put the slip knot on to our needle. First stitch. Right. With knitting needles, as you may or may not know, you have to swap hands. Once you finish a row, you swap hands, you change over. You should always be working from, we're about to get invaded by a kitten. You should always be working from your non-dominant hand to your dominant hand. So in my case, because I'm right-handed, I always work from the left to the right. If you're left-handed, it's the other way around. Okay, so casting on. Okay. Okay, so what we do is we put, now the first stitch is always the hardest because there's not a lot of give in it. You put the needle into the stitch behind the first needle, so you push them both in. Okay, so do you see that right there? There we go. That's what it looks like from the top down. You've got one stitch and you've got, why are you, it's gone through it. Okay, I'm going to leave that in. What had happened is I'd pushed the needles actually and split the yarn instead of going straight through. So there's the circle. So we're going to go straight through. You look from the top down. See, nice clear space there, but both of them through it like that. Then what you do is you make sure you get your working yarn. Your yarn should always be behind, it should be the back. And you take it and you bring it between the two of them. So around the back and between the two of them. So it is there. Yeah, you see it? That's the working yarn we've just pulled through. Yeah. You then, what you do is you slide the back needle down and use the tip of it. Hello, Smokey. No, not for you. To catch that piece of yarn you've just pulled through. Okay, so it scrapes down and it catches the working yarn. Yeah? You then pull this up. Yeah? Pull it up. You've got loads of room in it. It's the working yarn. You take the loop and you put it back onto the needle you are casting onto and pull it tight. 2 stitches. I'm going to do that again. Okay? So it goes into the back of the stitch. Nice clear space between them. Okay. Your working yarn comes from behind. It comes around. It goes between them. You then take the back needle and you scrape down, catch it, pull it through, and then it goes onto the top. And you have 3 stitches. One more time. Okay, so up and through, clear space between them, around the back, down between them, scraping it down, catching the working yarn and pulling it up and over. Okay, and that is how you cast on. Now you can see we've got 4 stitches on there. I need you to cast on 31 stitches. Okay, so you go do that and then come back when you've got 31 of these on here. Okay, hello. Okay, so I have cast on my 31 stitches. Okay, now we just need to knit them. So this is even easier than the casting on. See, and you thought knitting with needles was difficult. You'll notice these are fairly loose on my needle. Mine are quite loose because that's just how I knit. But you do want to make sure they're not too tight. Otherwise, they're very, very difficult to work with. So, much like casting on, we take the needle, we put it behind. So exactly the same, making sure that space is there. Woo! You see now how easy it pulls loose because we've been working it for a while. So, there we go. Just pull the tension back on with your working yarn. So 2 of them through, exactly the same as cast on. We bring it round the back, push it through, then scrape it down, catch and pull it. Now when we get to this point, instead of pulling it up and putting it back on the top, all we're going to do is we're going to take the original stitch and just pull it off the top and then pull this one tight. That's it. That's knitting. That's how simple it is. Okay. And we're going to do the same with the next one. Through, around the back, bringing that back needle down to catch the yarn, and then pulling it off the end. That's it. Now, really spots? Really? No, little kitten. So, we go. Thank you. We go up and through. We come around the back, we pull this needle down, we catch the working yarn with the point, and then slide the original stitch up and off. Okay, and you're going to do that all the way down till you've moved all of the stitches from this needle onto this needle, and then come back and we'll check out how your first row is looking. Okay, so we've now moved them all from this one to this one. So we've knitted 1 row, and this is what it looks like here. Okay. If you stretch it out, it looks like that. We don't need to stretch it out, but there we go. So that's 1 row. Now we're going to do a 2nd row. So we're literally going to swap our needles over and knit in a 2nd row. So knit a 2nd row, exactly the same. That's what we just did, and I will meet you back here then. Okay, so we've now done 2 rows, and this is what we're looking at. So we're going to get rid of this needle because we don't need it just for a second. Don't get rid of it completely, we do need it. I'm just putting it out of the way while we swap our yarn colours. You don't have to do this, you could do the whole thing as 1 colour yarn if you wanted, or if you were using variegated wool, that would be fine too. So we're going to take our yellow yarn, which we're using for the centre, and like I say, I've just cut this, I've cut it quite short. That may have been an error. What am I doing today? There we go. I'm just going to tie a simple little knot. It can be any kind of knot you want. I know some people are really weird about what knots they use. I don't care. To be quite honest, as long as it's tight and it's fairly near the base, it's good. You can just leave these loose bits here if you want. I'm going to trim them just because it's going to make you seeing the rest of the video a bit easier. There's less random bits of yarn getting in the way. Okay, so we have 2 rows. We've swapped for yellow. We're going to bring our other needle back. We've put this into our non-dominant hand, and now we're going to make sure our yarn, our working yarn, which is now the yellow, is at the back, And the next step here is to knit 1, cast off 5. Now bear with us, all right? I know you're thinking, it's something new, but it's not that hard. So in order to cast off, you kind of have to knit off, yeah? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to knit 1 stitch. The same way as we did. And I'm going to mess it up because, you know, why wouldn't I? That's why I've messed it up. Occasionally, okay, this illustrates a good point. If your stitches are loose, like that is the last stitch, and it's fine, it's not a problem that it's loose, but make sure you don't mistake that for a stitch. Okay, pull it across, look where the stitch genuinely is, put it through, yeah? Okay, so we're now going to take and knit a stitch. 1 stitch. Now, we're going to ignore that stitch. We're just going to pretend that's not there for now. And we're going to cast off 5. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to bring across 1 stitch by knitting it. We're knitting all of these across. We're going to knit across 1 to help us. And then we are going to knit another. And then we're going to take, remember we're ignoring the bottom one. We're going to take that first one, pull it up and over, and that is 1 stitch cast off. So we're going to do that for 5. So we've done 1. That is 2. 3. 4. And 5. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to ignore these 2 stitches now. See, there's 2 stitches on the bottom there. Just going to ignore them. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing again. We are going to bring 1 across and then 5 cast offs. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. And we're going to do it all over again. We're going to now ignore these 3 and pretend they're not there. Move them up to make it a bit easier. We're going to bring 1 across and then 5 cast offs. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. And then you see where this is going to come. We're going to do the same again. So we're going to ignore those 4. We're going to bring 1 across and then 5 cast offs. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. And one last time, ignoring all of these, we are going to bring across 1 and then cast off 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now what we should have is 6 little yellow stitches sitting on there. Now this is where it gets very easy, because all we do is we cut a decent length on this. We don't want to cut too much off. We want to leave a reasonable working tail there. Okay, you see? And we're going to get our darning needle. And what we're going to do is we're going to push all of our stitches together like that, so they're all squished up. And we're going to take the darning needle and we're going to go under all of them. Yeah, so we're going to go through all of them. We're going to pull that there. And then we are simply going to remove the needle. And we are going to pull this tight. Can you see our little flower? Yay! It's very cute. It looks slightly different on each side, but there you go. That's what your flower looks like. Then all we do is we take this and we tie it in a knot. Any kind of knot you like. And we snip the end off. And then we take the tail we left on our, now you can just leave it like that, to be honest. I like to join them slightly there, so just at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is take my red yarn, I'm going to pop it through. I am going to run it up through there. Be helpful if I'd have thought that through, but there we go. So I've run it up into that stitch, and then I'm just gonna bind these two together through there. I'm gonna run and I'm just gonna pick it up there to join these. Pull it a little tight. I'm going to pop a little knot in the very center, and then this will become a very useful piece of yarn for attaching it to whatever project I'm going to attach this to. You can put them onto blankets, onto hats. We're having our little monthly group craft session on the 12th, and we're making an autumn wreath, which is why I started making this, because I was like, I know what I can put on there. But there you go. That is your cute little knitted flower. Now, if you can have it that way as well, if you decide that you are going to use a smaller set of knitting needles, you will get a much sort of tighter, you won't get as bigger gaps. Yeah, it won't be as lacy, it'll be much more crushed in. If you use chunkier yarn, that will also happen. If you it's gonna, the look of it is gonna depend on the yarn and needle size used. This is obviously quite a lacy one, and this is DK yarn on number 10 needles. But there you go, your little 5-petaled flower. And now you know all the basic knit stitches as well.